Hello, I'm Logic Bunny, and come with me down the rabbit hole of knowledge.
Ever feel that little shiver when you see a ladder leaning against a wall? Ever wondered why you instinctively avoid walking underneath it? It's like this invisible force field of bad luck surrounds it, right? Are superstitions just silly little habits we pick up, or do they actually tell us something important about how our brains work? Consider the following. We're about to dive headfirst into the curious case of the ladder and its supposed curse. In this video, we're tackling a classic superstition. The idea that walking under a ladder brings bad luck. We're not just dismissing it as nonsense. We're going to explore where this belief comes from, why it's stuck around for so long, and whether there's any logical reason to avoid those leaning planks. So, prepare to have your mind blown as we use a bit of history, a dash of science, and a whole lot of logic to separate fact from fiction. I remember once, I was rushing to get to a friend's birthday party when I saw a ladder propped up against a building. Even though I was already late, I took a huge detour just to avoid walking under it. I mean, why risk it, right? But that got me thinking, where did this fear even come from? Is it just something we've all been told, or is there something more to the story? Stay curious. So, where does this ladder loathing actually come from? Let's dive into the logic of history. One theory takes us all the way back to ancient Egypt. The Egyptians revered triangles. They saw them as sacred shapes, representing the structure of the universe and their gods. Now, picture a ladder leaning against a wall. See that triangle it creates. Walking through that triangle was seen as disrupting something holy, a sign of disrespect that could bring divine displeasure. Then, fast forward a bit, and we find a religious connection. The triangle formed by a ladder was also linked to the Holy Trinity in Christianity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. To walk under a ladder was, in a way, breaking that sacred form, tempting fate, and inviting misfortune. But here's where things get interesting. Beyond the religious and symbolic stuff, there's a very real, practical reason to avoid walking under ladders. They can be dangerous. Things can fall, you might trip, or the person on the ladder might not even see you coming. Could it be that the superstition started as a way to simply reinforce safety? It's fascinating how a combination of religious symbolism, ancient beliefs, and practical concerns could all blend together to create this widespread fear of walking under ladders. How did a simple safety tip evolve into a full-blown belief in bad luck? Let's try something. Imagine a world without ladders. Think about it. How would our buildings look? How would we reach those high shelves? Would we even have the same sense of ambition? That drive to reach for something higher? What do you think? But why do we believe in bad luck anyway? What's the psychology behind all this superstition? It all starts with something called confirmation bias. Our brains are wired to notice and remember things that confirm what we already believe. So, if you walk under a ladder and then have a bad day, you're more likely to remember that connection, reinforcing the idea that the ladder caused the bad luck. It's like your brain is saying, see, I told you so. Also, consider this. We humans tend to feel the pain of a loss much more strongly than the joy of an equivalent gain. That's called loss aversion. So, the fear of experiencing bad luck after walking under a ladder feels much more potent than any potential good luck we might experience. Superstitions can also give us a sense of control, even if it's just an illusion. The world can be a chaotic and unpredictable place, and superstitions offer a way to feel like we're managing the risk, reducing our anxiety. It's like having a little security blanket. Beliefs, especially superstitions, can spread like wildfire through social groups. When people share stories and anecdotes that reinforce the superstition, it becomes even more deeply ingrained in the collective consciousness. It's like a shared secret that everyone believes in. I heard a story about a construction worker who always refused to walk under ladders. He wasn't necessarily worried about bad luck. He understood that there were safety regulations in place, and the company could face fines if workers weren't following them. So, for him, avoiding the ladder wasn't about superstition. It was about following the rules and keeping the company safe. Isn't that amazing? Now, let's put this ladder luck to the test. What if we tried a little experiment? Of course, we're going to do it safely and ethically. Imagine setting up a simple observation in a public space with permission, of course. We could put a ladder up against a wall and watch how people react. Do they walk under it, or do they go around? Then we collect some data. We tally how many people walk under the ladder and how many avoid it. And here's the tricky part. We try to objectively record any bad luck incidents that happen to those who walk under the ladder. But remember, we're looking for real, measurable events, not just subjective feelings. To make this experiment even more scientific, we need a control group. We compare the bad luck incidents of those who walked under the ladder to a group of people who didn't walk under the ladder that day. This helps us see if there's actually a difference between the two groups. What do you think the results would be? Well, chances are we wouldn't find any statistically significant difference in bad luck between the two groups. In other words, walking under the ladder probably doesn't cause anything bad to happen. The answer might surprise you, but before you go setting up your own ladder experiment, let's remember the most important thing: safety first. We need to conduct this experiment ethically, respecting people's beliefs and avoiding any actions that could cause harm or distress. After all, we're trying to understand superstition, not create it. So let's apply some ladder logic and really debunk this myth with critical thinking. First, we need to understand the difference between correlation and causation. Just because two things happen close together in time doesn't mean one caused the other. For example, if you wear your lucky socks and then ace a test, it doesn't mean the socks made you smart. It might just be a coincidence. It's important to remember that bad things happen randomly in life, whether we walk under ladders or not. Sometimes stuff just happens. It's like rolling dice. You can't control the outcome, no matter how hard you try. Now, let's bring in a comms razor. This principle says that the simplest explanation is usually the best. So, does walking under a ladder cause bad luck, or is bad luck simply a part of life? The simpler explanation is that life is full of random events, both good and bad. One of the mental stumbling blocks that sabotages our critical thinking is the desire for simple explanations, even if they're not logical. It's easier to blame a ladder for our misfortunes than to accept the complexities of life. But here's a technique to discern the underlying logic and principles governing superstitions, based on empirical sciences and world phenomena: observation, hypothesis, testing. We observe the superstition, form a hypothesis about its origins, and then test that hypothesis through research and critical thinking. By following these steps, we can move beyond superstition and embrace a more rational understanding of the world. What do you think about it? So, how do we break free from the cycle of superstitious thinking? How do we overcome these irrational beliefs? The first step is to actively challenge your beliefs. Question your superstitions. Ask yourself, what evidence really supports this belief? You might be surprised to find that there's very little evidence at all. Instead of attributing events to luck or fate, seek evidence-based explanations. Look for scientific or logical reasons for why things happen. This can help you develop a more rational understanding of the world. It's also important to embrace uncertainty. Accept that life is unpredictable and that not everything can be controlled. Sometimes things just happen, and there's no point in trying to find a superstitious reason for it. Practice mindfulness. Pay attention to your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Recognize that superstitions are just thoughts, not reality. You can observe them without letting them control your behavior. But what are the emotional consequences of wounded intellectual curiosity, feeling limited by irrational beliefs, missing opportunities due to fear, diminished confidence in your own judgment? It's important to remember that superstitions can hold us back from living our lives to the fullest. So, let's break free from those chains and embrace a more rational and fulfilling existence. What do you think? So, let's step out of the shadow of superstition and embrace the light of logic. We've explored the historical and psychological roots of the latter superstition, but we've also seen that it lacks any real scientific basis. We've learned the importance importance of critical thinking and evidence-based reasoning. By challenging our own beliefs and seeking logical explanations, we can gain a clearer understanding of the world around us. I encourage you to challenge your own superstitions. Don't believe everything you hear. Experiment and find out for yourself. Bear the Norio style. So, go ahead, walk under that ladder, if you dare, but maybe wear a helmet, just in case. Just kidding, of course. But seriously, the next time you encounter a superstition, take a moment to think critically about it. Ask yourself if there's any real evidence to support it, or if it's just a story we've been telling ourselves for generations. Now, I want to hear from you. What are some of your own superstitions? Share them in the comments below. And if you have any ideas for future myth-busting videos, let me know. Let's continue to explore the world with curiosity and a healthy dose of skepticism. What do you think? Stay curious.